If you're just starting out learning Chinese, you're probably a bit freaked out about the idea of learning 3,500 Chinese characters. It might seem like an impossible task, but in this video, I'm going to talk about how they were developed and then show you the best way to learn Chinese characters. The earliest Chinese characters were based on pictures of things that we come across in our day-to-day lives. Over time, these pictures were refined into the characters we see today. Now, while these pictographic characters may be easy to remember, only about 4% of modern Chinese characters have been created this way. Initially, this limitation was overcome in two ways. One way was to create indicative characters where basic concepts are represented with a small number of simple strokes, such as the characters for 1, 2, and 3, and above and below. The other way was by combining existing characters together to give new meanings. These types of characters are known as associative characters. For example, the character 从 is created by combining one person character behind another person character to convey the meaning to follow. 3 trees here are combined in the character for 森 to mean a forest. Here, the person character is placed next to a tree to convey the idea of resting. And for the character 温, the dish character on the bottom, with the water character on the side, and the sun character on top, conveys the idea of warmth. Water in a dish left in the sun will get warm. As inventive as this method can be, it still only covers about 14% of modern Chinese characters. The great breakthrough in the evolution of Chinese characters came with what is known as the pictophonetic method. Let's say we want to create a character for the word 湖, meaning a lake. We start off by taking an existing character that has the same sound, in this case the character 湖, meaning Mongol or Tartar, 2 of the northern tribes of China. We then add a picture radical to differentiate the character and to convey its meaning. In this case, we add the water radical to the left, and now we have a new character for the word 湖, meaning lake. Using this method, we can also create the character 湖, meaning paste, by adding the rice radical. Paste, in ancient times, often being made from rice flour. And we can add the insect radical to create the character 湖, which means butterfly. This method has been used to create thousands of characters, and in fact, around 80% of modern Chinese characters have been created this way. Understanding the pictophonetic method is key to understanding modern Chinese characters. However, there are a couple of gotchas. The first is that the radical part of the character is not always easy to find. Generally, they're on the left, top, or outside of the character, but they can also occur on the right, bottom, or inside of the character. Unfortunately, there is no guaranteed way of locating radicals, and for a small number of characters, the radical can only be identified by referring to a dictionary. But for most characters, the radical is easy to identify, and you will find that with a little experience, radicals will be easy enough to pick out. Just look at the tree radical in these characters, or the grass radical here, or the hand radical here, or the eye radical here. They are all very easy to identify. The second gotcha is due to a concept we'll call phonetic drift, where the pronunciation of the phonetic component is modified between characters. Take the simple character 半. Using this character as the phonetic component, we can create a new character by adding the person radical, giving us the character 半, meaning a companion. So far, so good. However, in this character, 盼, we can see that the pronunciation has changed from the original B sound to an aspirated P sound. This is also the case for this character, 盼, meaning to rebel. In this character, 胖, we can see that the sound has drifted further from the original nasal N sound to the nasal NG sound. This phonetic drift has come about because characters have been developed over thousands of years by Chinese people speaking varying dialects. Phonetic drift mostly occurs between similarly sounding initials. For example, the Z and C sounds here in 足 and 醋, the ZH and CH sounds here in 照 and 超. and the Q and J sounds here in
起
and
几
you'll probably recognize these as the sounds you had most difficulty distinguishing when you first started to learn Chinese.
Because of this phonetic drift, we can't work out the pronunciation of a new character just by looking at it.
However, understanding the pictophonetic method is still useful because it allows us to make sense of characters. Let's see how it would help us remember this character. The first step is to locate the radical. Here, it's the meat radical on the left. We can also see the phonetic component is made up of the character
半
However, there's no way of knowing that the pronunciation of this character is
胖
Likewise, there's no way of knowing that the meaning of this character is fat. But once we know the pronunciation and meaning, the pictophonetic method helps us understand how this character was created, and that makes it easier to remember. Okay, so now we have a good understanding of how Chinese characters were created, let's look at the best way to learn them. There are 3 key steps to learning Chinese characters efficiently. Step 1. First, you should start with the simplest characters. Although characters are written as a series of strokes, they are more logically thought of as consisting of one or more basic components. Before studying complex characters, you should familiarize yourself with the basic components. For example, beginner students might not realize that the characters
木
and
耳
here are actually 2 different characters, not the same character written differently. The same with
人
and
入
so it helps to see them together and study them at the same time. Same with these. Step 2. Once you're comfortable with the basic components, you can start looking at characters that share a common phonetic root. That way, you can leverage the pictophonetic method to quickly learn series of related characters. Sometimes the pictophonetic method works really well, like in these characters that are all based on the character.
方
Other times it works well, but there is some phonetic drift. There are also times when it works well for some characters, but not for others. Even so, it makes sense to study these characters together so you know where the exceptions are. Step 3. Finally, you should study easily confused characters together. For example, these characters have no real relationship to each other, but are easily confused. Studying them together helps you to learn how to differentiate them so they're easier to remember. If you are systematic and approach learning Chinese characters the right way, you'll be amazed at how quickly you can learn them. At Remember It, we've organized over 2,000 characters into an optimized learning sequence based on the ideas covered in this video. For each character, we've included audio, radical info, and sample words so you can see how it's commonly used. Our online course includes lesson drills that make it easy to gradually memorize 20 to 30 characters in a single lesson. After you complete a lesson, the characters are automatically scheduled for follow-up testing to make sure you don't forget them. Click on the link below to sign up for a free trial today and start learning today. Thanks for watching and good luck with your studies.